Welcome to the very first episode of Nerds Off the Clock. I'm Nick,
I'm Aaron.
and we're just a couple of friends talking about movies, TV, comics, nostalgia, sports. Nothing serious, just good conversation. Thank you for being with us. And 3, 2, 1, we are off the clock.
So let me start off by saying I'm Aaron. I'm 33, no kids, just moved into a new place. We decided to do a podcast together, kind of just talking about the things we enjoy. A little bit about me. My favorite teams are the Broncos, Nuggets, Avalanche, San Francisco Giants. My favorite movie is The Dark Knight. My favorite characters are Doctor Doom and the Flash. And yeah.
Well, Broncos, whatever.
Yeah. Call it what you want.
I'm 34. I've got 2 beautiful kids. I got a wife that I've been with for 18 years as of today.
Congrats.
Appreciate you. We've been dating since we were both in high school. So it's been a long time. We'll be married for 10 years this year. So over half my life, for sure. It's been a long time. Shout out to her. Shout out to my beautiful kids, Parker and Easton. Love you both. And thank you for letting me have the time away to do this. Can't wait to explain how it goes and share this with everybody. So, my favorite teams are the better teams. So Raiders.
Boo.
Whatever, dude. Let's go Raiders.
Franchise.
Let's go Raiders. Okay. We have a couple of decades that we can go ahead and not talk about in the past, but got the Mariners. I'm also an Orioles fan. Might shock a few people, but I am an Orioles fan. And then I'm not super into hockey very much anymore, but I'm a Blazer fan. I also follow wherever LeBron goes. So you can boo me all you want. That's totally fine. But I've been watching LeBron since I was little. So, and then, yeah, Mariners, Orioles, Raiders, Blazers, a little bit of where LeBron goes. If I were a hockey fan, it'd be the Blackhawks. I used to root for the Blackhawks, and I don't watch any soccer. Sorry. I just don't.
It is what it is.
I just don't. Can't get into it.
Well,
But that's all right.
all right, so we'll start off today with talk about Daredevil a little bit. So we just finished watching the first 3 episodes. Yeah, what do you kind of think about so far how the direction's going of Marvel and Daredevil for this season?
I like it so far. I think one of the coolest things about Daredevil this season is obviously the new suit. The suit is ridiculous. I think it's super cool.
Yeah.
The black with the double D on the front. I think it's top 3 best suit in Marvel. I'd have to go back and look at the other suits and really compare, but I think it's right there. They nailed it.
For sure.
I love the little pieces of when Charlie, the actor, they zoom in on his focus and they change the aspect ratio on the screen. I think that is really cool. It's one of the coolest things Marvel has done.
They're doing a really good job with integrating the lighting and stuff. Like even with behind Bullseye and keeping it blue, and then Kingpin having the white behind him, and Daredevil being red. It's just really good color ratios. I think they're just blending everything very well.
I agree. I think Vincent D'Onofrio as Kingpin, seeing what he's become and seeing how good of an actor he really is. This is the only thing I've ever seen him in. I know he's been in other things before, but seeing how he portrays the character and how he takes the role is larger than the screen, in my opinion. You know, I know he's a completely different guy off screen. You would never think this guy plays Kingpin. Like that's pretty wild, but I think his on-screen presence helps carry Daredevil. I know Charlie is amazing at what he does. Karen's great, but I think really Vincent carries the aura and probably just the vibe of the New York City crime boss. I think he's really good at that. And Um, he's probably my favorite character in all of Daredevil.
Yeah, I mean, him and Vanessa's relationship is really a unique thing in Marvel Comics. Like, it's cool to see the way that they're portraying it. They are definitely a good power couple, and just the way that they're bouncing Matt and Karen's relationship and kind of playing it on the opposite end with Kingpin and Vanessa. It's it's been a real joyous thing to watch. I think that Marvel is really stepping back into the frame now that Kevin Feige is kind of back in charge of everything. Um, I think this season is definitely off to a good start. The first three episodes have really pushed kind of past what some of the issues were in the first season and kind of got back to that Netflix feel. And it's just kind of in a good direction going into the next kind of phase of where Marvel's at.
I agree. You talk about the Netflix feel. I totally agree with you because there are some shows, I'm just not going to name any right now, but there are some shows that they start out as a really independent almost feel. And it seems like so much goes into it. And then Netflix, after a while, gets really behind it. And then things kind of change. Vibe changes, lighting, cameras, everything changes. And that's not always necessarily for the good. But I feel like what you said off of season one compared to season two, I agree. The whole Netflix feel is kind of back, like the OG Netflix feel when it wasn't just like this major production and it didn't feel like there were, hundreds of millions of dollars behind it. And you could feel it because it obviously does feel like that, but in a more grounded, back to roots kind of way. And one thing that I really love about Daredevil and specifically, and they do super, super good, is the one shot takes.
Yeah,
I
for sure.
love one shots. I know they're super complex to do. I just believe that the staircase scene that we had, and I think it was in the previous season or it was in Daredevil, it wasn't in Born Again, but the staircase scene in one shot was incredible. And they just kind of did that in episode, but I don't remember which episode, if it was two or three, but they did virtually the same thing. It was all one shot with the swordsman. It was incredible. I just have huge admiration for one shots. I think it's really good.
Speaking of swordsman, like in Hawkeye, he wasn't like a very prevalent character. Um, Going through it kind of felt like he was the antagonist, and then by the end you realize he's actually a good character. And the way that they've kind of built his character in this has been really awesome. They've just taken a character that's kind of like a C level character and built him into more of a prevalent character in this season. It's been really cool.
They've done that really well off of not a lot of screen time for him either until you get to that scene in the one shot where you kind of see him in action and yeah, it turns the tables where he's really not the bad guy. It's everyone's making him out to be that way and they've done a good job doing that, but he's really not, and I'm excited to see what else he can do.
Yeah. Kind of going from Daredevil, it's going to be kind of interesting to see how it leads into Punisher. What do you
Hmm.
think is going to kind of be the ending? And do you think it's going to lead directly into Punisher? Or do you think there's going to be like a time gap and then it's going to go into the Punisher?
Dude, shout out John Bernthal, like
Yeah.
the best Punisher ever. The dude was made for this role. um I I am curious if there is going to be a time gap going straight into going into Punisher. Um, I mean, I guess we'll see. I mean, I don't really know. I mean, they could include it. Um, in the same time frame. It'd be kind of weird if they did it that way, but I mean, if you need to kind of spread it out with a time gap, I think that would make the continuity not as prevalent, which I think is okay in things like this because Marvel tends to do that a lot. With you have you know this takes place 3 years after this. This takes place 3 years after this, and we always have to kind of stay ahead of like what's current 2026. We have to stay ahead of that. We can't actually have things happening in the current year. So
Yeah.
I think that's something that they could potentially do is have a little bit of a time gap there to connect him down the road in future.
Yeah, I'm thinking it's gonna kind of be like, since Punisher's not really in this season that we know of at least yet,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's gonna kind of be explaining what he's doing during this time.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, it'll go congruently with Daredevil
Mm-hmm.
and kind of show how he's going against the anti-vigilante task force to try to take them down on his side.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of play it as Daredevil being the good, non-killing type of character, and how he's trying to take down Kingpin systematically, where on the other end, Frank's just out to kill everybody.
Yep.
So
That's what's badass about him.
he's just going to go and completely wreck everything.
Yep.
So I think going into the end of Daredevil, it should lead right up to the end of the Punisher one-shot series. That's what I'd like to see out of it, so that we can directly tie right into Spider-Man.
Yeah, brand new day. Yeah. I'm super excited for Brand New Day. You told me when the trailer was dropping, and
Mm.
I was super late to the party, and we had to FaceTime and watch it together while my son took a
So
nap.
good.
It was so good. And watching that back and forth, that trailer, oh my gosh, there's so much in it. It feels like a grounded Spider-Man. Like
Yes.
Peter Parker's broke. Nobody knows who he is. We're 4 years, I think, after No Way Home.
4 years after, yep.
4 years after. That's a long time. The trailer opening part of it was great. And I never put together that when he pulls on his mask, it's always CGI. I've never,
Yeah.
I've never put that together, but it is. And I think one of the coolest shots that they've done is him hopping off that building, and you see the ripples in the suit. Like,
Yeah.
go watch any other Spider-Man film, maybe besides like TASM, and you don't see that. You don't see
Yeah.
the ripples.
All of the other ones are very tight, form-fitting.
I think that it's really cool they did that because it is homemade. I think it's nice that they're putting like I got to use whatever tools I have. I'm just going to be the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, and I'm just going to go save the city. I don't necessarily have to worry about my love interest with MJ. Ned doesn't know me type of deal. No Avengers. It's just him running solo. No Aunt May. So I'm curious to see what they do with Sadie Sink's character. Because clearly she's in this. They haven't really announced what or who she is.
What are you thinking? Who do you think she's playing?
I'm not going to say. I just want to be pleasantly surprised.
I'll straight up say it.
That's fine.
I think she's going to be Jean Grey.
Jean Grey.
I mean, she signed a 5-year deal with Marvel. She's already been confirmed to be a part of Secret Wars. So why else would you be a part of Secret Wars if you're not a big major character? So Sadie Sink signing a 5-year deal kind of just points to the direction that she needs to be an important character. And in the trailer, how she kind of seems like she's the one that's bouncing off of each one of those other characters, from the old lady in the tank to whoever the damage control agent is, and then just kind of bouncing through those characters. it has to be a strong telepath.
Oh yeah.
So one of the only strong telepaths that would make sense would be Jean. So
Yep.
I think that's who she's going to be.
That would be my guess too. I'm glad you said it and not me. But I think it's cool how they alluded to Rogue as well on the bus
Yeah.
in that trailer. So it's like they're kind of introducing, the young X-Men type of deal and bringing that into the MCU because obviously after Deadpool, Wolverine, we're bringing in X-Men. From Multiverse of Madness, you had Professor X, you had John Krasinski. You had that era of trying to bring that in. End of Captain Marvel, you have Beast. So they're trying to all bring that stuff back in. And if we have Sadie Sink as Jean Grey signing that 5-year deal, she's going to be a megastar. Absolutely. That'd be
Oh,
really cool
yeah.
to introduce her that way.
I mean, you're a big Stranger Things fan.
Bring it.
I'm not the hugest Stranger Things fan, but
Yep.
her coming into the later seasons of Stranger Things and becoming such a big character and a beloved character, I think that just shows her star power. And for Marvel to lock her up at this point when she's building is great.
Yep. I agree. She is there. I think all the kids from Stranger Things, like the main cast, are all in like their young 20s. So she has all the potential in the world. She can cry like a son of a bitch, to be honest. Like
Yeah.
in Stranger Things, she can really cry. She can really sell herself. She becomes just very dependent on her talent and reading the room and her co-stars. She's gonna kill it. She's gonna be a megastar for sure. Yep,
Yeah.
I agree. And shout out Stranger Things. It is best show. It is the best show.
So some people have alluded to in the trailer for Spider-Man, like you see him get the key to the city, and with the anti-vigilante task force and how Kingpin is trying to bring every anti-hero and vigilante to justice. How do you think that's going to kind of tie in to the end of Daredevil?
I don't know. Honestly, what are your thoughts?
I think that there's something being left out of the trailers. I think that they're trying to direct us one way to believe that Daredevil ends a certain way. Um, they can tie it into Kingpin and Daredevil going to jail, and that kind of be part of the storyline for Spider-Man to try to help Punisher break Daredevil out. And that's kind of where that scene is with the hand.
Yep.
Um, could potentially be some of that empty space be Daredevil and Punisher in that, kind of recreating that No Way Home
Yep.
image, but instead with street level characters.
Yep.
That would be cool to see. Um,
They've
like,
included comic book covers in there too, with like Tarantula and then Boomerang. I'm curious to see what they do with that. If that's going to be like a snapshot or like a montage, if you will,
Mhm.
of like maybe some backstory before you really get to the heart and soul of the movie, where you see Spider-Man during these 4-year hiatus, not hiatus, but time frame from No Way Home, where he's fighting these actual enemies, and all those are the culmination to having potentially Daredevil, Punisher, or we got Mark Ruffalo in there too.
True.
Maybe we see some Hulk. I don't think so. That would be a lot because we also have Scorpion too, and Frank and Punisher is already in there. But if you could see some sort of a cameo from Fisk in this film, I know Marvel and Sony have their legal things that they have. But if you could see something from Fisk somewhere in this movie as a cameo, I think that would be fantastic to continue on down this path of Spider-Man.
Yeah, some people have kind of said like they think the main antagonist is going to be Mr. Negative, which would be
Hmm.
really cool because he was portrayed really cool in the first Spider-Man game.
Yes, he was.
Um, I think it would be really cool to integrate it back to Fisk because then that kind of ties in all of the Netflix series
Yep.
and have, in a way, Daredevil and Kingpin work together with Spider-Man against the Hand.
Hmm. They're going to need
Um,
the power for it.
so it, I don't know. I think that they can go in a lot of different directions to kind of tie up everything that's going on in the current MCU
Hmm.
and kind of push forward and introduce mutants all together at once and kind of tie it with Hulk and how he how Bruce Banner created that um whatever that
On his wrist. Yeah, yeah.
arm thing is to kind of tie that into the mutants and damage control kind of taking that technology and building that into their Sentinel program
Hmm.
and kind of have the catalyst of all of that starting to kind of tie back into Bruce Banner Hulk.
I agree. And I think even the title Brand New Day, I think this is almost like a reset for Spider-Man and continuing on. Because obviously we had Homecoming, Far From Home, No Way Home, and Brand New Day, I think, is like, okay, we've wiped his memory or everyone's memory of him. No one knows who he is. He's pretty much starting from scratch. He's
Yeah.
by himself. And I think introducing Hulk into that with no prior knowledge of who he is, because in the trailer he's like, what was your name again? Yeah, I think that's a really good way to start, by introducing mutants with Hulk and the Hand as well. And I think that with everybody else included, Punisher, potentially Daredevil if he's in there, Hulk, potentially a Wilson Fisk cameo or something with, X-Men, obviously if we have Jean Grey, the nod to Rogue. I think if you do it right, you can wrap everything up nice and tight, especially towards the end, and or use this as a reset point to continue further, almost to see the audience as like the last 4 years for us have been almost reset too. Instead of going in like, oh, well, we had No Way Home and we had Far From Home and all these connecting storylines, I think it almost just resets everybody else too. So we're going to start from here, and this is what it's going to be going forward. Just softly doing that, subliminally, I think. Um, but I'd like to see that wrapped up nice and tight, but have it continue for Sadie Sink, lead really well into X-Men, New Mutants. I think if they do it right, they set everything else up for success down the road. And I'm glad they're not doing, Marvel in specific is not doing too much throughout the year to do this correctly with Kevin Feige at the helm. Um, and I think these characters that they have right now, Punisher, Daredevil, this reinvented Spider-Man, I think they're killing it. I think they're going to do a really good job.
Yeah, and I'm excited to see what Destin Daniel Cretton kind of does with this movie because going off of the John Watts movies, there was a real kind of more younger tone to Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're going into his older years. Um, Destin Daniel Cretton did a really good job with Shang-Chi,
Mm-hmm.
and I think from the tone of the trailer, I think we're going to get a very deep, dark type of movie, kind of something along the lines of Thunderbolts.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's just going to tie perfectly into Doomsday,
Mm-hmm.
where everything's just going to kind of fall apart.
Mm-hmm.
What are you kind of looking forward to with Doomsday?
Everything. When they announced that Robert Downey Jr. was Doom, you sent me a phone call. Actually, I remember where I was. I was
Yeah.
outside with the neighbors, playing with my wife and son and all the neighbor kids, having fun. And you called me after hours off the clock, if you will. And you're like, dude, you got to check this shit out. I was like, what is it? And he's like, Robert Downey Jr. is Doom. I said, there's no way. He's Iron Man, bro. He's Tony Stark. There's no way. And you sent me the clip and I saw it. And the reveal was nuts. Shout out Russo brothers. Like the reveal was nuts. I didn't know how to feel at that point because I'm like, there's so many other people. We've talked about this before. Like we talked about like a Cillian Murphy or, somebody else playing Doom. And Robert Downey Jr. just did not seem right to me initially.
Yeah.
Now I'm totally convinced. And what I want to see in Doomsday, especially in relation to Spider-Man Brand New Day, is I think a lot of people have this theory. I don't know how true it's going to be, what they're going to do, but I would love at some point, maybe in Doomsday, maybe in Secret Wars, whatever it is, a meetup or some sort of a meeting with Victor Von Doom and Peter Parker. Because you and I both know Tony and Peter have this really strong bond, interesting relationship, and that will be greatly affected if they ever see each other that way, because Victor won't know who he is. Nobody knows who he is. And Peter's going to be like, Mr. Stark? Like Tony? Like how's that even going to be possible? I would like to see that. My boy Cap is coming back, even though it says Steve Rogers will return. It doesn't say Captain America will return. It says Steve Rogers will return. The Russo brothers are geniuses. They have like the best MCU films ranked. I think they're some of my favorite MCU films. I think everybody is going to come together, and there's going to be a huge tie-in, I think, with Peter Parker and Victor Von Doom. Maybe not in Doomsday, but maybe in Secret Wars. But if there is some sort of alluding to that in Doomsday to set that up for Secret Wars, I'd love to see that. But I want it to be dark. I want Doomsday to be dark. How can you have a title like Doomsday or, a man of this caliber be all fluffy? It has to be dark. It has to be mature. I'm honestly all for R-rated Marvel films. I mean, you look at Deadpool and Wolverine. I mean, you look in the comics. I mean, you're reading it on paper. It's not light. Like you have to, I think you translate that to film in a more mature way. Obviously they won't because they want more coverage across the globe. But I think it's going to be dark. And I think that's what we need for Doomsday. Infinity War-esque.
Yeah. So I believe that the way Doctor Doom works as a character, he's going to have the ultimate knowledge. He's been in the background this whole time, learning about the multiverse. He's been learning about time travel. He's been learning about all the different universes. So he's going to know all the different characters from our current 616.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to know who Peter Parker is. He's going to know about that previous relationship with Tony Stark. He's going to use that to his advantage. He knows that he resembles Tony Stark. So he's going to use that as a way to build trust with Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to do the same thing with Steve Rogers. He's going to do the same thing with Bruce Banner. He's going to do the same thing with Doctor Strange. And it's even, some people have alluded to a possible theory that when Doctor Strange saw all the different realities of Thanos' snap,
Mm-hmm.
that he saw Doctor Doom as, I guess, resembling Tony Stark, and that this was the only way for the multiverse to end and rebuild in the proper way. That's why they could only have the one outcome.
Sure.
Any other outcome wouldn't have led to the recreation of the 616 universe, bringing in the X-Men and all of that, it would have been something like if they would have had an ending like in Multiverse of Madness where they killed Thanos immediately, it could have completely destroyed that universe. And Doctor Strange wanted to save the 616.
Mm-hmm.
So this was the only way to save the 616 and have it go forward.
That makes a lot of sense. He saw what 15,605,000 or something.
Whatever the
ending
number was.
possibilities. So I mean, that has to be one of them. I think that's a good point. And I think at the end of Thunderbolts, when they showed Reed's ship going towards Earth, I don't remember, was that 616? Was that universe?
Yes.
So a lot of people are theorizing that that's Doom.
He could be on the ship.
Could be on the ship. It's our universe. It's the one that's saved. So yeah, I think you make a great point, because that reminds me of one of the MCU films. I can't remember exactly which point, but if you notice that there's a board of leaders, country leaders. I don't remember which one it was, but if you notice, the Latveria seat is empty.
That was in Fantastic Four.
Thank you. Okay, so the Latveria seat was empty.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people are theorizing that, like, he's not there. I mean, why would he be? You know, he's watching from a distance, and then, you know, he shows up at the end of Fantastic Four. Got Franklin there. And I guess that was RDJ in costume, apparently, which is really cool just for that end scene. And the Russo brothers directed that end credit scene, and same with the one at the end of Thunderbolts as well. They're directing those, and it feels different. It does feel darker. It doesn't feel, you know, fluffy like, you know, some of the end credit scenes do. You know, it just feels like a regular part of the film, but it just seems like it's shot different. And I think it's interesting that he hasn't been in those seats. And so you're probably right that, you know, he has been in the background the entire time, and he's just gathering knowledge, and he's going to use it against everybody. Do you think recruitment would happen with, you know, Cap and Steve Rogers, all those guys? Do you think any of that would happen?
So in the Secret Wars comics, Doom does build kind of a roster of his allegiance.
Yep.
Which Doctor Strange is his right-hand man. I definitely believe they're going to do something like that. If he can build it to have kind of like an ultimate sorcerer roster, and maybe include Scarlet Witch in that.
Yep.
Maybe kind of bring Sentry into his team, have Clea, have Doctor Strange, maybe even Wong or somebody like that.
Yep.
I think he's going to be a very formidable force. I'm interested to see if they're going to do Doom bots. Maybe they can kind of play off of the Ultron bots that they had in, I think that was this 636 universe or 818 universe in Multiverse of Madness. Doom kind of throws his conscience around all of the Doom bots to where even some of the Doom bots believe they are the real Victor Von Doom.
Smart.
He's just going to be really tough to beat.
Oh yeah, especially when he's, you know, gathering the strongest minds that are out there. I mean, Franklin, you know, of his own, creator of the cosmos. Like, it's ridiculous. Cosmic power just in an infant. It's insane. I'm curious as to how he gets used, because he has to be used at some point in either Doomsday or Secret Wars. Otherwise, why even have that end credit scene?
Yeah.
He's got to be used that way. Do you think that recruitment will start if that does happen in Doomsday, or do you think that will happen in Secret Wars, kind of like an Infinity War to Endgame, kind of like part 1, part 2?
I think all of Doomsday is going to be basic recruitment, and we're going to see all of the different teams that are going to battle one another in hopefully a battle world type of environment,
Mhm.
which would be kind of in Secret Wars. I'm curious to see if they'll split that movie into two, because Battle World has so much you can do with it,
Massive.
and wiping all of the characters' memories of the previous universes gives you a lot of opportunity to have a lot of different characters fighting against each other. I mean, even a Toby and Tom Holland kind of fighting each other.
Hmm.
Maybe Andrew, them all fighting each other because they don't remember each other.
Hmm.
Um, you can have a Maestro type of Hulk, where he just controls his own section of like kind of World War Hulk type of thing.
Yep, yep.
Um, there's a lot that they can do with Secret Wars. So all of Doomsday is going to be preparation.
Yep.
And right at the end, I think, is where the multiverse will collapse. And then we'll just go into darkness. And then I think Secret Wars will just be right in Battle World.
Yeah. That'd be pretty amazing. Do you think any of our heroes end up on top?
I think that they're going to keep quite a few of the newer characters around. I think they're going to do. I mean, the term soft reboot has been thrown around.
Yeah.
Um, if they do something like that, they need to keep some of the newer characters, but also I think they need to also keep guys around like Chris Hemsworth as Thor and kind of do a more older version of Thor and just give us new storylines that we haven't seen yet.
Hmm.
Because even with Spider-Man, for example, we always get like midway through his life and we never get his later years. I want to see Mayday Parker.
Hmm.
I want to see him and MJ get married. I want more of the newer side of the stories, because we're going to be starting fresh with the X-Men.
Yep.
So since they're keeping all of that in one universe, give us the later years of Marvel.
Yep. I agree. I think it's a good way to go because we've had the Spider-Man films where he is his origin. We've had that so many times, and
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with that. But like everyone to this point, kind of like Fantastic Four, we all know the origins of the Fantastic Four.
Mm-hmm.
That's why with the Fantastic Four, they're all established. Like they just make their movie based off of their established, reality. It's just we don't need an origin story about them again. We don't need another origin story of Spider-Man. That's why I think this Brand New Day, going back to that, is a nice reset for Peter, but in his later years, because he started out in Homecoming as a teenager, and then a couple of years passed, from high school, and now it's 4 years later, so he's got to be in his early to mid 20s right now, which I think is a good way to do it. But yeah, I would like to see them a little bit later in the future, and you're bringing back Captain America, or excuse me, Steve Rogers, I should say. You're bringing back uh, Thor. You're bringing Black Panther back in there. You're bringing all these guys back in here. Robert Downey Jr. that were not done with Marvel, but it's been 6 years since those guys had really been a part of the spotlight in Marvel. I think you do the characters well. I think you do them justice, but I'm okay if they lose. Kind of like what we saw in Infinity War. I'm okay
Yeah.
if they lose. Obviously, Endgame was Endgame, and time travel and portals, that part of it. But I'm okay with them losing, especially if it's to Doom. But we'll see. I like it.
So on to a little bit of sports. What are you thinking about this current NBA MVP race? Everybody's kind of talking about it. What are your thoughts?
Well, you're a Nuggets fan.
little bit of bias here, but
That's all
I'll
right.
still be honest.
We can bring bias into it. That's okay. Leading, we've got SGA, Shea Gilgeous Alexander. Oh my gosh, Shea Gilgeous Alexander. We've got Wemby, Jokic, and Luka in fourth. Jokic is 3-time MVP, isn't he?
Yes.
Yes, he is.
Should be 5.
Should be
Just my opinion.
It should be 5. Um, you know, going off of straight value to the team, it's just that's what it's about. Most valuable player, in my opinion, SGA technically is the most valuable person on his team. He is. NBA champion, MVP. Wemby is a complete anomaly. Like he's the dude's what 7'4". He plays like a point guard, can block like a center. He is incredibly valuable to his team. I think just because he's the anomaly, I think that's why he's so valuable because he can really do everything. Jokic, he's incredibly valuable to that team. Obviously, NBA champion, 3-time MVP. He's got Jamal Murray alongside him. They're a sick 1-2. And then Luka. Lakers have LeBron. Obviously, I feel for Luka's situation, he in the prime of him with the Mavericks gets traded, going through apparently a custody battle, going through a falling out with his fiance is what I've seen. And the dude is balling right now, balling. But he's like not even talked about. He's number 1 in scoring. He's averaging almost a triple double. I mean, the dude's putting up 40, 45 per game, and it's effortless. But I don't necessarily think he is the most valuable player on that team. I believe it's LeBron, even though LeBron is still kind of on his way. I'm not going to say out, but he's 41. And he's not averaging near what he usually does. I don't necessarily agree with 1, 2, 3, and 4 in that order of SGA, Wemby, Jokic, and Luka. I think, in my opinion, it would be Luka, Jokic, SGA, and then Wemby. That's what I think. So I don't necessarily agree with that order, but I'm a Blazer fan, so I have no skin in the game.
Me, obviously, being a Nuggets fan, I watch the majority of the Nuggets games, and I've been watching them for a long time, back to the Carmelo Anthony days,
Shout out Melo,
the real Melo.
the real Melo.
Jokic is like nothing I've ever seen in the NBA before. What he is able to do at center is incredible. It's a once in a lifetime type of talent. You know, Stephen A. Smith is very famous for saying that he's looks like he can't jump on a curb,
Yeah.
but he's still able to average a triple double
Yep.
for a season at a center position
Mm-hmm.
where they're not normally ball handlers. It's incredible. I mean, he's the only one to average a triple double in a season outside of Russell Westbrook.
Yep.
They're the only 2 players in NBA history to do that. So, I mean, that kind of speaks for itself, in my opinion.
I agree.
I mean, just because SGA is the number 1 scorer on the number 1 team in the league doesn't necessarily mean he should be MVP. The Thunder are a really good team, i.e., the reason why they won the championship last year.
Yep.
They're a good team. I don't believe that the Thunder lose as much as the Nuggets would lose without Jokic.
Mm-hmm.
Without Jokic, the Nuggets struggle a lot more than the Thunder do without SGA.
Mm-hmm.
Same goes for Luka, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Lakers do lose a lot, but I don't think they would fall off as hard as the Nuggets would.
I agree with that because even when Luka got his 16th tech and he was out for a game, they did just fine. And I think the Oklahoma City Thunder are one of the only teams that are above 50 wins without 20 losses. And I think it was Phil Jackson's mindset that to be a good team and contend for championships, you need to win 40 before you lose 20. And Oklahoma City is showing that right now through SGA. But there are a lot of good teams that are still above the 40 mark while losing 20 that still have contention. I think the Spurs are right there. The Nuggets are there. I think the Lakers are there. A few more teams for sure. But I agree. Comparing Jokic to Westbrook, they're opposite sides of the coin, where you have a center that's averaging a triple-double in assists and rebounds and points. And then you have Westbrook, who is 6-7 inches smaller than Jokic, half his size, a guard, and he did average the same thing during his MVP year. I think that speaks to both their talents. Obviously, Westbrook is, with the Kings. He's on a different team now. That time has passed. But watching Jokic play, it's almost effortless. And he doesn't look, let's face it here. Like, I asked my wife, yo, would you believe that guy is a 3-time MVP, NBA champion, best player in the league? What? Yeah. Would you believe that looking at that? Well, I don't know. I'm like, well, he's a big man. We're in small ball league. We're 3-pointers. We're drive, kick out. This man can shoot the 3 ball. He can post up. He can pass. He can take the ball up court from the other side. He can. He'll pull up from half and he'll drain it. And his arc is high, bro. So I agree with you, even with your bias. I can agree with you that Jokic could be the MVP. I see it more as Luka, and SGA and Wemby kind of fall into the 3 and 4. But that number 1, number 2 spot, Jokic, Luka, I think Luka doesn't add as much MVP caliber like Jokic does, because I think with what you say, removing Jokic and having Jamal Murray and the crew, I don't think they win as much as they do with Joker.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I love Aaron Gordon. I love Jamal Murray.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're great players. They've proven this year that they've definitely taken a step forward with Jokic missing his time this year.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, there's so many stats that come out with Jokic. The first since Wilt.
Mm-hmm.
He averages, I don't know, 20 rebounds in a game. And you look at the list, and the top 20 is all him and Wilt.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see those type of numbers with the other guys in this conversation.
No.
I mean, Wemby deserves to be in this conversation too, because at his age, what he's doing on both the offensive and the defensive end has been truly remarkable this year.
Mm-hmm.
But I still believe that when we look back in 10, 15 years, Jokic is going to be looked at as one of the greatest NBA players in history. He won't be up there with Jordan and LeBron and Kobe, all of those guys, but as far as center goes, he's at least top 3
all time. Wow.
Yeah.
But the Jordan and Michael and Kobe, that's a different ball player. That's a different category. Like it could be like overlooked like Tim Duncan. Everyone looks over Tim Duncan, dude.
Yeah.
5 rings. The big fundamental, like one of the most consistent players in NBA history. I hope Jokic doesn't get overlooked like that ever. because Timmy went back and forth between power forward and center when power forward actually meant power forward. You know, the forwards nowadays, uh, Wemby, I mean, he could be center technically, but he could play power forward and he's 150 pounds soaking wet at
Yeah.
7'6". You know, it's insane. I don't want Jokic to be overlooked like that because we do play small ball. You know, it's all the guards, it's all the forwards, like the small forwards that really get the attention, the point guards, because we don't play big man ball anymore. So when you put in like a Jokic and then you put in, let's say, Aaron Gordon, that's big man ball right there. Like that's bully ball. So I think that is a lost art. I think there needs to be more of that where you play a power forward, a big power forward, and you play a center, and then you play a little bit of small ball with, you know, your small forward and your shooting guard and your guard. But sometimes two centers don't end up in the game at all together. And I think you should. There's been glimpses of it this season, but I think there needs to be more of that because that's a lost art, kind of like the mid range. Mid range is a lost art. And that's actually one thing that SGA does a really good job at is the mid range because Kobe was a master at the mid range. Carmelo Anthony, master at the mid range. Even more guys before that. Mid range is lost because that was the game before the 3-point line was introduced. I don't remember what year that was, but I think it's a lost art and it needs to be done. I enjoy the drive and kick out, but man, I like me some bully ball. I like that. Like you don't see centers like Shaquille O'Neal anymore. You don't see, you know, dream shakes anymore from Hakeem. You just don't see that. Even with Tim Duncan. I mean, bank shot God. Just a bank shot God. You just don't see that anymore. And I'd love to. And I hope Jokic in the next 10 years, you can see him as one of the greatest NBA players of all time. Yes, he's a center and the game is not derived towards the center anymore. But I mean, we're in the generation where when you're 7 feet tall, you need to be able to shoot the three ball. That's just kind of the way it is. Kevin Durant, I mean, he's technically a small forward, but he's 6'11" and he shoots a three. Wemby shoots a three. Joker shoots a three. I think that's just the way the game is. And I think he could be, with the arsenal that he has, he could be a top 10 player all time, even as a center. I mean, even though the game has evolved, I think he could be. But I want Luka at number one. I think he deserves it, in my opinion. But I'm a little biased there.
Yeah.
'Cause I'm a LeBron guy, so that's all right. I got a couple pairs of shoes of his. That's all right. That's all right.
So what have you been kind of watching recently?
My wife and I, we have started watching the show on Netflix. I think it's Netflix. It actually might be HBO Max. I think it's HBO Max. It's called DTF St. Louis.
Okay.
And I saw the thumbnail one day, and it was Jason Bateman and David Harbour. Shout out to Red Guardian. Shout out to Chief Hopper from Stranger Things. I thought DTF might have actually meant something different than what DTF actually stands for, and I was wrong. So it actually does stand for what you think it stands for. And it's actually quite enjoyable, but it's a little odd to see those characters in this role. I'm not going to give anything away because there's only 4 episodes out of season 1, but seeing Jason Bateman as a weatherman in this, and they made him look pretty old. I know he's older, but it just seems like they did something to make him look pretty old. And you've got Linda Cardellini. Shout out to Velma from Scooby-Doo and Freaks and Geeks. Yes, throwbacks. And you've got David Harbour from the MCU and from Stranger Things, who does a great job. They made him look quite a bit older too, put a little fat suit on him type of deal. And then, yeah, Jason Bateman, Linda Cardellini, David Harbour, those are the big 3 in there. Pretty much it's about a couple of people that download this app called DTF St. Louis, and they're kind of wanting to meet with other people. More so, I think, David Harbour's character than Jason Bateman's character. And it gets to the point where on the profiles that they create, kind of like a Twitter or something, you create a profile, you're anonymous in a way, and you meet up and you're DTF. It's kind of how it is. things go haywire in episode 1. And it leads you to believe one thing from one character and one thing from another character, and it messes with the audience. But it is kind of dark. It's pretty funny, and it's pretty graphic. Um, yeah, you pretty much see Linda Cardellini like in a see-through top, and that was weird watching with my wife. I don't really like to watch stuff like that with my wife. It's just kind of uncomfortable for me because like my wife is sitting right here and there's a naked chick on TV. It's just kind of weird. Maybe I should be more mature, but it's just a little weird to me. Um, and it gets pretty graphic, and you see Jason Bateman with his legs in the air, and they're doing some weird stuff, and it's a little weird to watch. But other than that, it is quite funny. It is kind of like a murder mystery, and it's enjoyable for people that like Jason Bateman's work, like I do. Linda Cardellini's always been great. She's in Grandma's Boy. Shout out to Grandma's Boy. It's always overlooked. And then David Harbour, of course, from Stranger Things and part of the MCU. And Violent Night. Don't forget about Violent Night. Yeah, that's what I've been watching. A little bit more than that, but that's what we've been trying to get through so far. It's pretty fun. What you been watching?
I've been watching Shrinking. I'm kind of a couple episodes behind now because of my moving and everything, but I really love this show. Jason Segel and Harrison Ford. Ford, one of his probably best performances in at least a century. He is amazing in the show. All of the character development is so good. Every episode that I've seen of this show has made me go through the full range of emotions. It makes me laugh at one point. It makes you happy. It makes you look within yourself. It makes you sad. It just has the total package.
Mm-hmm.
And this season, up until the point that I left off at, has built so much on the previous seasons and just up their game every single episode.
Mm-hmm.
It's some of the best television out there right now. I highly recommend anybody who hasn't watched it. If you have Apple TV, if not, get it. This show is worth the watch.
Let's go. It's called Shrinking?
Shrinking.
I've never heard of it, man. It's on Apple TV?
Watch it.
Dude. All right. I like me some Harrison Ford. I'm a big Raiders guy, so yeah, okay. Shrinking. All right, I'll have to check it out, man.
Well, with that, I think we come to an end on this episode.
Episode 1 in the books. All right.
Yeah. So just give us your thoughts on what you'd like to see, what you guys would like us to talk about, any topics. If you want to see more of one thing versus another thing that we talk about, just leave it down in the comments section. I'm Aaron.
I'm Nick.
We are Nerds Off the Clock. We're clocking back into work now.